Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic night of Sci-Fi Vision presents Fandom Access. I'm your faithful host, AJ. Greetings and salutations. I haven't had the chance to say that in a while. Karen is here somewhere, and Jamie should be along shortly. And then we will start our show by talking about Doctor Who. Then the girls will talk about SurrealEstate. And then they're going to talk about Dead City, sorry. And then we will spend the remainder of the show, Karen and I, talking about Andor, all 3 episodes. Yay! So, not sure what's going on here. What else have I been watching? Sorry, Jamie's late and on her way. I don't know what's going on with Karen though. I think Karen lost track of time, signed in, and forgot where she was. I can't hear you, Karen. And she's not muted. Maybe Karen should go out and come back in. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Upon being, besides being late. So yeah. Anyway, I saw Thunderbolts over the weekend. That was really good. So, Karen. Nope. Is your microphone plugged in? Nope. Now she's on mute. Now she's unmuted. Now she's mimicking me with her avatar. My my volume is 80 where it always is during the show. But if Karen's trying to talk, her little thingy isn't blinking. Well, let's see if Jamie has any luck. Maybe it's just me.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so it's not just me. Karen's having technical difficulties. You bled them onto Karen.
Oh,
Make sure your microphone's plugged in, Karen.
yeah, it looks like nobody's come in either. That's kind of weird. Okay, we're going though. We are moving.
Yes, we are live.
Yes. Well, hopefully she'll. Oh, her picture came up now. So anyway, no, I'll be opening the other thing. What's wrong? She can't get her mic to work.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But I don't know if she's on a laptop or a desktop because laptops usually have a built-in mic.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we can, if you want, we might as well start a little bit while we're waiting, see if she texts. It's weird though that I don't see anybody live. That's why I'm kind of wondering if something's going on with it. It makes me think you might be right.
She's gonna restart her computer.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if there somebody came now, maybe they're having hopefully better luck than you
are. Karen left. They came.
Yay, we got it.
All right. So
thanks everybody for coming.
Damn that Karen didn't get to do the things the way I wanted to do it tonight. But go ahead. You what did you think of Doctor Who?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say I liked it. I mean, I liked last week's Doctor Who better than this week's, but I still liked it a lot. And I was surprised because I did not expect the twist at all with him to be, trying to you know what I mean, trying to trick Ruby. Sorry, that's not a great way to say it, but you know what I mean. And yeah, I didn't expect that. So I liked it. Yeah. Why? What did you think? Sorry, I can't talk to you.
All right. The episode itself, I liked. I liked the episode a lot. I feel like it was kind of like a backdoor pilot for the Unit TV show that they want to get off the ground.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if that's why they had a whole Unit episode.
That's what it kind of felt like. Yeah, overall, the episode itself I thought was really great. You know what I thought was funny was the bar that they were in reminded me. It's probably the same set, but it reminded me of the bar from 73 Yards.
It did to me too, actually. Now that you said that.
Um,
This episode
but
kind of made me think that to begin with, just because the doctor wasn't in a lot.
the thing that's part of my and that's where my problem is,
Yeah.
Um, these are, you gotta remember, we had back when it was, before Disney got involved, we had 13 episodes a season. Okay. We now have 8 episodes a season. So basically, I mean, these 2 seasons with Shooty, we've got, overall, we've got 16 episodes, which is 3
Yeah.
more than 1 season of our other doctors. So we had more time to get to know our doctors in a season before they start doing these light episodes. And not
Yeah.
to mention Belinda, we've seen her for 3 episodes, and then they're like, "Okay, back to Ruby." And, it got me thinking, actually. I think this is the first I don't know what, I have obviously haven't made it all the way through all the classics yet, but this is the first time that the companion has only been around for 1 season. Like, Ruby was one and done, you know?
Yeah.
We really didn't even get to know Ruby before we got a new companion, you know? In the past, if they did something like this, Ruby would still be a companion and then maybe add Belinda and, the 2 of 'em, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at least, like, that's how the classics are a lot. The classics, like, they start out with the original 3, and then, then they're down to 2, and then he's actually by himself for a minute because 2 finally decided to leave, but he immediately picks up 2 more, and then one of them leaves and another one joins, and you know what I mean? Like, there was constantly a revolving door of companions at any given time in the classics. But the
Mhm.
new Who, we always had our companions for a while. I mean, sometimes the companions lasted longer than the Doctor.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't like that it didn't have a whole lot of him in it. I think that they could have at the. I mean, look, I understand there's they had a problem with scheduling and that he was filming the final season of his show and everything. I guess, which
That
I
was
thought
last year, though. That's not this year.
that's what I thought, but I had read that I guess he was. I don't know. That's what I read.
No,
But
that
either
was
way,
all
if
last. It has
if
nothing to do
that's
with
the
this year.
case, that's it happens. But I don't know why they had to also leave Belinda out of it. They could have even just stuck her in without him. But I agree, we don't get enough of this in the season to begin with. They're too short, and it's like they're taking even more of it out. I thought Ruby, from what they had, made it seem like when they've advertised it, I thought that Ruby was going to be joining them. So I was really surprised when it was. Can you talk now, Karen? Can we hear you? Uh-oh.
Take that as a no. Well, this has
I
been
would
fun.
take that as a no. Yeah, maybe my computer problems are contagious. I don't know. Um, but uh I thought Ruby was going to be joining them. I was surprised that it was just her. Although I do think that, like, she's not coming back for a while unless she's going to be on the spinoff, maybe. I don't
Well, no, actually, I almost feel like that was.
It could have been the end of her show.
I think it's the end of Ruby, because at the end of the episode, she tells Kate that, she's gonna go. She basically tells her, "I'm going off the grid." You
Yeah,
know.
and that's what I'm saying. Unless they have her come back like a long,
Well,
long time from
I
now, or come back on Unit,
but
I
that's what I'm
kind of
saying.
doubt
I
it.
feel like because of it feeling like a unit backdoor pilot episode, I feel like that's they're that they're giving a reason for why she won't be around if they do a unit show.
Mm,
She won't be around to help out or jump in or whatever, because she's off the grid. She's taking time. She needs to get a
yeah,
breather, you know. But
yeah,
it's funny because, you find out in the episode that she's been, her mother's like, this is the first time in, like, weeks that she hasn't mentioned the Doctor, you know. So it just makes it all the more strange that she isn't the companion anymore. I don't know. It feels really weird the way this is all coming together.
yeah. It's kind of like they don't. I don't know. I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing. I mean, clearly they've done this before, but it's just, yeah, and it's just surprising that they did that, and it's surprising now. You muted it. That was loud. That was not me. uh, but yeah,
Sorry, I forgot she wasn't even
no,
in the
it's
living
okay.
room
It's okay.
still.
But yeah, I mean, I like in a way that they wrapped up Ruby. I guess that like at least we got something else. But I do think we should have gotten more Belinda. But I will say I do like that we got to see kind of the post Doctor um Ruby, because we
I,
don't really get that a lot. Like we
and I
you
don't need
know
to,
Donna
because
come back, but we
that's
don't
the thing.
usually see
The
that.
show's not about post companions. The show's about the
No,
Doctor.
it's not. But I thought it was interesting to see kind of, I guess, the devastation he leaves behind, for
I
lack of
mean,
a better description.
if the Doctor was there for the whole episode, that'd be a different story.
Yeah.
One thing I did like, and it's the first time we've really seen this out of Shooty, and I liked it because I feel like we haven't gotten enough of it with him. But you know how when the Doctor gets really smug, and all the Doctors have. This is the first time I've seen Shooty like that at the end of the episode when he meets Conrad
Oh yeah.
and he tells him off.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
don't I don't know how I feel about the fact that Conrad is the one that asks him if he's met Belinda yet.
Yeah, I do gotta say though, I do like the way they did the timeline, because I mean, obviously they made this so this happened before Belinda. So even though Ruby was back, she wasn't exactly back because it was in between.
Well,
And
it's
that,
timey-wimey. So I mean the
yeah,
episode
it is.
starts with him and Belinda meeting Conrad as a child, you
Right.
know.
And that, well, yeah, but the thing is also is that I'm assuming that when he met Belinda, he said that someone told him about her. I'm
Yes,
assuming that this is what he meant, is with Conrad.
obviously.
Yeah. So I think that's
There's more
interesting.
to it,
It-
but
yeah. But yeah, it's just it's a little strange they did it now, I guess, is the issue.
well, I mean, I
But
don't have a problem with the when. It's just gonna be interesting to see how it plays out from here. But
yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I like the episode itself overall. I thought it was a fun episode. I thought the episode itself was really good. Might have been a little too preachy, but that seems to be RTD's way lately. Um, I just I can't get my head around this. Shorter seasons, less Doctor. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna. Sorry, I realized I'm not sharing photos, and I should have been. That's my fault. Um,
I didn't know you were back up and able to
no,
do that.
yeah, that's what I said. I got my computer
You
is
did
back.
something screwy though, because you didn't.
No, I know.
Yeah,
There.
there you
Whoop.
go.
Okay, why is it showing? I had for 3. What
What's
did I do?
wrong?
Oh no, that's for 3. Okay. Oh, okay. It's Karen's there. I was thinking Karen wasn't there. She's just
No,
not there on auto. She's she's there for that. It doesn't quite line up, I guess. But
Karen's there, but she's not there.
yeah, there we go. That's a little
we
better.
gotta figure
Oh
we
well.
gotta figure what's going on with Karen.
Yeah, we'll figure out. But anyway,
Karen needs another microphone
yeah,
or another way to
what did
sign in.
you, up until I was going to ask though, while we're waiting for her, up until you found out he wasn't a nice guy. Did you like Conrad? Like I liked the character. Um,
Um,
I was that's why I said I was so surprised. Like I don't know. I really didn't see it coming. I guess usually a lot
no,
of
I
times.
didn't see I didn't see it coming either. But I felt like there was something off about him. Like he just there's something just didn't add up with him. Something, it just didn't, it felt like, he got his, because he grew up and finally, because when he was a kid and his mother was like, you quit your lying and everything, um, it seemed like he was going to be an ally maybe in some ways, but he just, I don't know, just his interaction with Ruby just felt forced.
That's fair. The one thing though, speaking of his interaction with Ruby, reminded me. I want to say, and I don't know if I can find the picture, but there was one thing actually that kind of irritated me with that is that Ruby was like so upset, and like I understand that she was upset what he did. Don't get me wrong, but like the fact that she was bawling over him the way she was it? Were they supposed to have even been together that long? It didn't seem like it was. And the fact that I don't know, I just felt like Ruby was more independent than that, and that she was so upset over what he did. It
I
just seemed kind of out of character to me a little bit.
I
Something.
I felt like it was overwhelming. It was just like after like he basically took her existence and just made fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, it was more. It wasn't about him.
No, but
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know. I thought that maybe she should have been not
I
so.
think I think she just it was like I said. I think with everything with her, she's missing the doctor. She finds this guy that she thinks she can talk to about this stuff and connect with, and he turns out to be using her. You know, I mean, it was just the initial shock. I mean,
I
once
guess.
once the scenes start happening at unit, I mean, she tased him.
Yeah, and I did like how they got him back, but I don't know. I just for whatever reason I just thought maybe she shouldn't have been so emotional. But you're
Yeah,
right. It was. I
like I
mean,
said,
it wasn't
it was a
him. I didn't
combination of
think it
things.
was just
It
him.
wasn't just about him. It was just a combination of everything. Not to mention how she's being hounded on the street every time she goes outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It was
that's true.
just it's a combination of stuff. It wasn't just about him. At least I didn't feel it was just about him.
No. Yeah. Karen, can you
Yeah,
get use your mic
yeah.
yet? It looks like no.
What'd you do? You find a genie and said, "Hey, please give it to anybody else but me, these problems," and it went to Karen?
I don't know. I would say it was StreamYard if it wasn't working for us, but I don't know. I yesterday when we did our show, we we had a lot of technical difficulties yesterday, but we weren't using StreamYard, so yeah, I don't know because I haven't been
And she
using it.
was just on Sunday with Michael and Roger, so
Yeah, so
something happened to her computer since then and now,
yeah,
which
I don't
means
know.
this show just got a lot shorter
Yeah, it did. I
if
know.
she can't get in.
Well, we'll just talk a little bit while we intro place from back. I was gonna say, did you like? I like the part with you that they put. I liked Unit though. That I'm trying to say, I liked the Unit story. I am excited to see the spinoff. Um, I don't know. I always like when Kate is in it, and I forget this woman's name. Shirley, I think. Is that her
I
name?
think
Shirley.
yeah, Shirley.
Shirley. I like her a lot too. So yeah, it kind of I do feel like it could potentially have been um viewed as a backdoor pilot. The only reason why I wonder if it wasn't though is because they didn't really like start a story that's like you like separate from Doctor Who, you know what I mean? Like usually if it's done for that reason they would have started some kind of narrative that they didn't. But other than that, yeah. But yeah, I agree. This is going to be a really, really short show. She's not here. Well, there we go. We'll try again. See if she can. Can you talk now? Karen.
She said she was on Teams today and it worked.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, I'll tell you one thing though, if they do get the unit show off the ground, I think it's going to be really good. I really enjoyed all that interaction and seeing everybody, and it'd be interesting to see if what you call it, Donna's daughter is a part
Yeah.
of it since she was working at unit back in last season.
Yeah, Hegel and Child, sorry. Yeah, had forgotten. Yeah, she might be in it. That's a good point. Hopefully there will be other characters. I mean, I know there won't be like overall, but there might be people here and there popping in. I did want to ask you though, what did you think about the way I like that picture? That's a good shot of the alien. What did you think about the way that Kate acted? Like what she did, that she went so far?
Oh, I was totally down with it. I thought that he wants to jeopardize everything. I mean, because she's right. I mean, if the government gets a hold of unit and starts controlling stuff, some of the stuff they have, it only ends badly. So I think Kate did the right thing. I thought she was like, "You want it? This is what you asked for. You don't believe it. You want it. And even after she tases the monster, saves his life, he gets up and he goes, "These special effects are really good." Like, I was so glad
I
that the
rewatched that, but I could be wrong. But after I rewatched that scene, I wasn't sure if he was like going to continue it on, or if he was just like, well, they've gotten better. Like it was like sarcasm because he
No,
he was saying
he
it,
was going to keep going. There was no stopping him until he
yeah,
got bit.
I wasn't. It was a little weird. They had that scene, but did get bit. And I was going to say too. I guess it looks like it ripped his arm off, maybe
Yes.
because that to me looks
My
like they reattached it on that thing.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So yeah, I think he. Well, the thing is, the truth is, it was never that he didn't believe it. It was that he, I guess, wanted the attention because I mean, he had seen the doctor since he was a kid, and even if nobody would listen to him, I think he believed it. He just didn't want anybody else to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was so much that he didn't think the aliens were real. He just wanted to be the one that everybody was listening to. At least that's how I took it.
Yeah, I took it that he just was so I don't know. He was just all against the government and
That too, yeah.
claiming he was, I mean, maybe that was his motto. I took it though that he just was an idiot.
Well,
Um,
yes, he was definitely an idiot.
and then of course we get Miss Flood at the end letting him out, which I
Yeah.
wonder what that's about. I wonder why she's concerned with this doofus.
Yeah. I mean, she's obviously been in every episode now. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that'll be revealed soon, and I hope so. But why she shows up there
Well,
to
it'll
let
be revealed in the finale. We're not going to find out till the
well,
finale.
well, we hope it's going to be. I mean, who knows? It could be continued. She was in
No,
last season.
no,
Hope
I
revealed.
RTD said it would be revealed in the
Oh,
finale.
okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. But yeah, it's. I'm curious why she's letting him out. Like, why is this guy so important that she wants? Like, I understand her being in the episode and popping up like she does, but the fact that she came to let him out, we're assuming the way she acted that she was going to. Does he have some other purpose? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Don't
maybe
know.
it's like a timey-wimey, the chicken and the egg that it's hit because of him that Belinda came. Who knows? But
Well, I mean, this might be cheating and reading too much. Well, I mean, two things. Like, really, one thing. During the conversation with the doctor, he tells the doctor, "I don't accept your reality." Now, given the way things have been the last two seasons, and we had um, that little glitch in the robot revolution,
oh,
where
okay.
yeah, um, I'm wondering if this is going to turn. I don't know. I feel like this whole thing since the giggle, everything's been kind of out of whack, and I'm wondering if it's going to be some kind of alternate reality type thing situation here, because and this might be, like I said, this might be cheating. But the finale is called the Reality War.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So,
Why am I
so
echoing?
it seems like things have just seemed off the way they've
Yeah,
done, the way things have happened.
she
Um,
definitely seems to be more of potentially. I don't want to say evil because we don't know enough about her, but she doesn't seem like a good character. The fact that she's around, I get
I'm not
more
really sure.
malevolent. I know. I don't know. I'm just saying my opinion. Like I get the feeling that she's not. I
Yeah,
think that
she
she's
feel. It's funny because she feels like a narrator.
kind of, kind of. Yeah, maybe he's all in some kind of story or something. Like he's gotten jumbled up
Yeah, I
inside.
mean, yeah. You think about it, we had the whole meta episode
Yeah,
in Lux.
and
But
she's
even
definitely
going
always meta because she's always breaking the fourth wall.
right,
So
and I mean going back to last season. I mean, we had Susan Twist through showing up everywhere, and now this season we got Miss Flood, and it's like, are they two sides of the same coin? Or is one, Twist was technically bad, so is Miss Flood actually maybe good? It's some things that I've been rattling around in my head.
yeah, I don't know. There's
I
a
just
lot
can't
of
figure out what
ways
any of it means.
they could go with it.
I mean, in the giggle, Toymaker did say he was gonna. Well, actually, what was his exact words? Because I think he said something about he was going to mess with the Doctor's reality.
Hmm.
So that could be where this is all going.
Yeah, I
Which
don't know how
which
I
which the
feel
question
about
then is, does that mean whatever happens to Reality War that like a lot of the stuff in these last 2 seasons don't even matter type of thing? I really hope that's not the direction that he's going.
Yeah,
But
I
that
definitely
would
hope
really piss me off. I don't know. I feel like it's RTD needs to hand the baton off, I think.
I don't know. I mean, I've liked the episodes overall. I think that there's been issues, but I like his writing. I've liked better than Chibnall's overall. So I can't say,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of problems there. I don't dislike it. I just wish that they
I want
would be
Stephen Moffat
more.
back.
Yeah, bring Stephen Moffat. That's a good idea. Bring Moffat back. But no, I feel like I want more of what feels like Doctor Who. Like we said before, like last
Yeah.
week, like really felt like
Yes. Yeah. Last week
classic creepy. And it's not that they can't be silly. I just want to feel like it's Doctor Who. And there's haven't been as many instances, like some certain episodes just haven't. They fell off a little bit.
right.
Um,
I agree.
and it's I don't think it's in Shooty's fault. I think that
No,
it's
it's the
just
right.
the way they're doing
It's what RTD is writing. It's not.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
do like him. I just think that they need to give him more to do. I do think a longer season would help. I know it's not going to happen, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't understand why they shorten the seasons. I think that's
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
don't know if that's a Disney thing or that's because obviously we had I mean we had the Giggle too, but that was short as well. So I don't know. Karen, are you able to talk yet?
You hear me now?
Yay, we can hear you.
Hey,
I hooked up my Bluetooth speaker to my computer.
Good.
I'll see. So it's something with internal with your computer. Then there's some,
Yeah.
yeah, there's something messing with your. All right, Karen, we talked through it enough. What is your opinion of this episode? I don't know how much you heard of what we said, but
I heard bits and pieces. So I enjoyed this episode. I like Ruby. I like seeing Ruby again. I'm not sure that I think that it was the right time to do this. I feel like I barely know Belinda, and I'm just that friendship, that relationship is just developing, whatever it is there, and to interrupt it with a Belinda free and Dr. Light episode and remind me how much I liked the previous companion. I'm not sure how how I feel about that as a strategic move there, right? But I like Ruby. I like the episode. I Colin. I don't know. I texted you guys today. This Doctor Who has been very heavy with like the message, and this feels like really heavily directed at Americans. Well, I guess everybody. I'm American, so I only really understand Americans falling for like internet disinformation and things like that. I guess it's happening all over the world, right? I shouldn't maybe really say this feels directed at Americans, but it probably all of. I mean, it's obviously they didn't, Britain too, right? It's a British show.
Yeah.
It was a little much at the end, and it left me feeling kind of like there's no Colin doesn't learn anything. Colin like goes to prison still believing what he believes. He gets his arm like pretty much bitten off, and he still is like just as horrible and vitriolic. He's really not unlike Alan, the jerk robot boyfriend from 2 episodes ago in some ways, right?
yeah,
Yeah, they're
I
not
mean,
nice guys. That's for sure.
he does like he and there's yeah, it felt like kind of depressing and a lot at the end of it. And the doctor gives him the typical like I'm protecting the earth lecture. I think I might have liked him to stand up a little bit for Ruby more. Ruby has talked about how he's her best friend. I was kind of surprised for her to say he's my best friend. Like, I get why Amy Pond considers the doctor her best friend, right? I'm like, oh, Ruby Sunday, you knew him for like 1 second for 6 episodes.
Yeah.
8 episodes. It's that 8 episodes for us, but
Yeah.
a lot more time for her.
And like she considers him okay. We know the doctor's a bad friend. Like the doctor you don't want to be the companion, you want to stay home. Well, you can't really expect the doctor to come by and visit you and call you all the time. Even Amy, he didn't visit that often, right?
Now, Amy used to get pissed off at him when he wouldn't show up for like months.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't super reliable. Yeah,
So,
I was calling AJ. Let me ask you really quick because I don't think you heard this part. I kind of liked that we got to see though the post doctor, like what was left of Ruby after he was gone, because we don't usually get to see that and see kind of how he, I don't want to say destroyed her life, but in a way he did a little bit. And they act like he thinks he's all happy and fun and everything, but there's always kind of that side and we don't usually see it. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting to get to see how she was doing after and what it's like not having him.
When we have seen post Doctor Life, like Amy was with Rory and she always loved Rory more than the doctor, or differently than the doctor, right? And so Amy went on and had a life, and Donna went back and had a life. And Ruby, maybe because she's only 20 years old, I mean, maybe when you're 20, you feel kind of at sea anyway. When you're 20 and you're not in college and you don't appear to have a job, and you know, she's and you still live with your mom, and maybe she would be at sea anyway, but you also have seen the entire universe, and you come back and you're like, oh, I have no job and I live with my mom and my grandma and I have no boyfriend and I'm 20, right? So maybe that's very different than like Donna or Amy post Dr. Life. I mean, Ruby talks about being traumatized, and I get it, but she's not traumatized more than Rory, who had her daughter kidnapped by, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying that I thought it was interesting to see kind of that side of it for once.
It is. And you know what, Jamie, I agree with you. And it's interesting coming on the heels of Belinda, who's like this reluctant companion who didn't want to go and doesn't want to stay and wants to get home and doesn't really want to do this thing. And that has been interesting. I really would like to see more of that. And now we see Ruby, who's like, I came back and I can't deal. And it was kind of a sad ending, right? Because she's like, oh, I kept thinking Kim was going to be like,
come with us.
Come get a job at, like, everybody works at Unit. Why can't Ruby work at Unit also? Like tons of like past companions and past characters work at Unit, right? So why they're not like, Ruby, you acquitted yourself really well, why don't you come to Unit with us?
I kind of figure Kate was saying like, when you're ready to talk, and that maybe eventually she will ask her to work there, and right now she's just not ready. But I don't know.
I guess. I mean, they have a literal like 13-year-old genius who works at Unit, right?
Yeah.
And a robot.
Speaking of, that was so funny. Whenever, I got a picture of him here somewhere where he's crouching down. Where whenever the alien comes out, that he's like, I forget exactly what he says, like evacuate, and then like he drops out of the room,
evacuates himself.
I thought that was hilarious.
So I'm complaining about that, but we're getting a Unit spinoff, right? And so this might be a great. We've seen Unit last season. We've seen it this season. Like I like the way they're gearing Unit up. If that's what it is to spin off. And I guess the only other thing is that, it was kind of sad that we had Colin like learn nothing, and I have like very little hope for humanity at the end of this episode. And the doctor gives the lecture, and the doctor's good at giving like a speech, but I don't know, that maybe wasn't his best. And then Ruby's like, this is too much. I have to go like live in a cabin in the woods, or go, she's going to go into hiding or go move away or whatever for a while. And it was all a little bit sad at the end, and like the doctor, he never comes to Ruby and says like, oh, I'm sorry. Like he goes to Colin and is like, you're gonna die in a prison and nobody will care about you. And he doesn't go to Ruby and be like, I'm sorry that you're struggling. I'll try to be in touch more. And then she could say yes, do, or please don't, or whatever. But he didn't, like, I don't know. The doctor he's always been a little obtuse. Like the doctor, for all his gifts, is not really good at he's not very perceptive about his companion's feelings pretty much ever with anyone ever, right? He's
You know,
very
speaking
he's
of
very
that,
full of himself, the Doctor.
doesn't Ruby have one of those? You know, like I mean, forever the Doctor would like point his finger take the sonic screwdriver, point it at their phone, and be like, "Whoop! Now you have like interstellar telephone service."
Yeah.
Like, can't she just call him when she wants?
Oh boy.
Yeah, don't they all get like a Doctor cell phone?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but I mean, I hear what you're saying about the Doctor not going to pop in on Ruby, but it's probably a good thing because it's not what Ruby needs actually.
No, it's
Because I feel
actually
like given where they're going with Ruby, unless she's rejoining as a companion, it's kind of counterproductive.
I
Because if
guess.
anything, it makes her sadder.
I guess, but so the Doctor somehow knows everything that's happened, and he knows what Colin has done, and he doesn't even like check in to see how his friend, supposed one of his best friends, is after this horrible man has done this horrible thing to her, right? Like,
Right.
the
No, I
Doctor
get what you're
doesn't not talk to Ruby because he knows it's not good for her. The Doctor, like, that's not at all on the Doctor's radar. I'm just like, gee, he didn't even really be like, God, I'm so sorry that guy broke up with you and he's a dick. I'm gonna go lecture him, and like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder if that was more like for whatever reason with if they were having shooting schedule issues, maybe that was why, because it does seem kind of odd. I don't know though. I kind of a little bit. The one thing you said I kind of feel a little bit differently about is I do agree it was depressing, and usually like everybody listens to him. I almost kind of like that it was in a way. I'm not sure. So I kind of feel different ways about this episode, but I a little bit like that maybe the Doctor wasn't able to convince this guy because we always see it and it's something different, and it's like the Doctor, whoa, what just happened? And the Doctor doesn't he's not, I don't want to say he's not right, he's definitely right, but not everybody always listens. And I think a lot of times that's sort of sometimes it's been his struggle to like get the antagonist or whatever to stand down or to save somebody's life or whatever. And Conrad isn't like a murdering psycho. He's not like an evil villain.
well, I mean, he was pointing a gun at a lot of people.
He did, and I guess he did get that one guy shot. But I just mean that he's not like the typical villain. Like, so I guess I kind of expected him to be like, see the error of his ways. I don't know. So I kind of like that. Like I said, with this episode on a whole, I didn't expect a lot of it. And I like that it surprised me in a lot of different ways and that it was different in a lot of different ways.
That's fair. I mean, you're right. Like, not everybody learns something, and like a stern lecture from the Doctor doesn't like change everyone's life, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
like
guy
he went in the TARDIS and he wasn't odd, like, oh, this is so great. Now I should, feel bad for what I did. Like I expected him to be that way, I guess. And I kind of like that he's like, so what? Put me back in my cell.
Well, because he's a guy that like can like see a fact and ignore it and like turn it to whatever he's turning it to, right? He's a guy who can
and that's what I said before. I don't think he disbelieved in these things. I think he wanted to be the center of attention and wanted to be right and everything. But he saw the Doctor when he was a kid. He saw the TARDIS. So I think a lot of it he knew was real. He just lied. I don't think that it was quite that, that easy. I think there was a lot more going on. So,
well, like Karen, I don't know if you heard, but I think that line when he tells the Doctor, "I don't accept your reality," I think that's a big clue going forward.
Yeah.
Because I was telling Jamie, I feel like ever since the giggle, things have been off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. He said, "I don't accept your reality," which we can read that on a level of like, look, there are people in this world who don't accept reality, right? Like, I'm gonna, I don't want to start a political debate on our channel, but there are people who deny science or people who deny things people who deny the Holocaust, people who deny whatever, right? And so when we say, "I don't accept your reality," alternate facts, right? We have certain high up officials who believe in alternate facts. And so you can say to that level, but I think, AJ, you're right, in a show that can like literally change reality or have different realities or perception, like, should we take that statement on a deeper level?
Yeah. And like I said, this is cheating, but the finale is called The Reality War.
Okay. I don't mean to complain too much. I missed.
They wouldn't name it like that to spoil people, you know.
Yeah. I missed most of your conversation. I did enjoy this episode. I like the shriek as a creature. Like I like that it was called the shriek, and the sound it makes is kind of like shrieking.
Yeah.
I liked the whole concept that it like marks its prey, and if it doesn't get you, it's going to come back in a year and hunt you again. A very like predatorish kind of thing with the green blood.
You know what I like?
I also think
I like
were a shout out back to the plastic people or whatever they were. I forget what they're called.
Yeah.
They were, mannequins before
the first episode. Yeah, the first
yeah.
Eccleston episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I like about it is, you know, it kind of reminds people that we see however many episodes in the season. That's the adventures that we see. Doesn't mean that the Doctor and their companion aren't haven't been doing things longer and more than what we're seeing, because, you know, we see him and Ruby, and she says, I can't believe we were just talking to the Beatles and now we're dealing with this thing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So that literally, you know, that takes place after
that episode.
Oh yeah. There are a great many episodes that begin with them saying, "Oh, that was great that we just came from wherever."
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to only come in the end here and complain about some stuff. I like.
No. You sound. No, it's pretty much what you sound like exactly what you know, the same type of stuff Jamie and I were both saying. Like the episode itself, I loved. I thought the episode itself was great. I just, like you, feel like is this the right, you know, is this the right time for this with these 8 episode seasons, you know, equivalent, you know, so we used to get, before Disney, 13 episodes a season. Okay. We've had, you know, at the end of this season, we'll have 16, which is only 3 more than one season. And I feel like we've hardly seen the Doctor. We are on our second companion already. And it just, I don't like the structure.
So the commitment they made to Disney was 26 episodes, but that includes specials. And we had the 3 Tennant specials, right? We had the Legend of Ruby Sunday, I think, was a special, like including all the specials, they're 26. So we're pretty well through a lot of it, right?
Counting the 4 specials and this season, that would be 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Which means we have left.
And like Disney says they won't renew it until the season is over and they see what the numbers are like. But as I texted to you guys, I don't see Disney taking over a property like Doctor Who and then canceling it after 2 years. Like
it'd be pretty stupid.
Their fault if that happens.
First of all, every person in the UK will cancel their Disney Plus subscription, right?
Yeah.
And like it would be, you can't take over a property like Doctor Who that's been on TV for more than 50 years and cancel it. Just like you couldn't take over Star Wars and then or Marvel or any of this stuff and then just like cancel it all, right? But Doctor Who in particular, Doctor Who is, they're not going to cancel it.
The thing is, I don't think it's only, and maybe I'm wrong, but I know that like Disney, you know, took control of a lot of it and are putting a lot of money into it. But that doesn't mean that like if Disney decides down the road they don't want to, you know, do it, that doesn't mean that the BBC is going to be like, oh yeah, we're done. You know what I mean? So who knows? Maybe it'll shift back to BBC only. I mean, we don't know.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't know logistics of all that, but I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure Disney getting involved was necessarily a good thing.
I tend to agree, except for, I mean, it looks really good. The special effects have improved greatly. I know I have complained once or twice that I have a certain nostalgia for like men in rubber suits and crappy effects that we had in the past, right?
I agree.
We got that in this episode a little bit.
That's why it was kind of hilarious that Colin's people from Think Tank put on suits to look like the Shriek that are pretty decent suits or whatever. And then, you know, at the end of the episode when after Ruby saves him from the Shriek, he says, "Oh, well, at least your special effects have improved." And then boom, it bites his arm, right?
Yeah.
I felt like that was a little bit meta there when he said that.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right.
But I mean, it looks, I mean, I appreciate all of that.
But yeah,
And-
sometimes you want the Zygon. Sometimes you need that.
As I got, yeah.
For
And
sure, yeah.
I appreciate that Disney appears to be letting the writers do their thing, for better or for worse. I sometimes feel like maybe could Disney rein it? I don't know. But I don't see it getting canceled. I do think maybe there could be unfortunate changes made if they need to keep it on the air, and we'll see what happens at the end of this. But yeah, I generally liked it. I liked it. It was a good, these Dr. Light episodes are some of the really good. I mean, the one we were just talking about with Carrie Mulligan. Blink is a Dr. Light episode, which is fantastic, right?
Which is actually funny too, because didn't he make a comment about it not being in a lot of? I think when I can't remember when they said that was their favorite episode in the last one. I can't remember exactly what he said about it, but yeah. And we like for yards too a lot. So.
Yeah. And by the way, I love these high-waisted pants on Shurigawa in this one scene that he does, where he his costumes are not always he's not always. I mean, he's definitely got a much more flamboyant fashion sense than any previous Doctor. Well, most Doctors wore the same clothes in every single episode, right?
Yeah.
I like about Shooty. It's kind of fun that he changes every episode.
And these high-waisted pants were so fab. And I watched it yesterday, and then I turned on the Met Gala red carpet, which was had a ton of men in high-waisted pants like this yesterday because of what the theme was. But anyway, yeah, I thought this looked great on him. This is not the best shot of it, but I thought it looked really great, and I love that they're. I don't know if the Doctor.
A lot of shots of him in this episode.
Yeah, so. I don't know if the Doctor always wore the same clothes because BBC couldn't afford more costumes. But I think it was probably just a thing, and they really are having a good time with the wardrobe in this episode in this season. These two seasons,
definitely are. There's all the other places you can't see his pants, so that one's the best one.
So.
Yeah, that's a good shot of those pants. They look really good.
Real quick before we move on to whatever you two watch, I learned something the other day, and Jamie might know this, but I just found out that David Tennant is not his real name. His birth name is David McDonald, and he changed his name when he was 15 years old because there was another actor who already had that name.
Oh, that's why most of them.
No idea who that is. So.
Right, that's why most of them do it. Somebody in the guild has that name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he chose Tennant because I forgot. I think it was a.
I was gonna say I know they changed it. I don't know what it was.
I believe it was a jazz singer whose name was Tennant something, and so he's like, that sounds like a good name. And then he's like, David Tennant. He goes, that sounds good, and that's what he went with.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, it worked. So
Food trivia. All
right. Next week is they go to Lagos, but what's it called? I don't know what the name of the episode was.
Oh, they're going to Lagos, Nigeria.
I'm saying it wrong.
Oh, that's right.
I can't wait. I have wanted to go to Lagos for at least 10 years and never got there. I went to the boring part of Nigeria, not the cool part. I'm really excited for this episode to see them go to this incredible city and to see Doctor Who go to Africa, which is not a place, Doctor Who goes to Doctor Who goes all over the universe, and then when he comes to Earth, he only goes to the UK or America usually, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And look, that episode about the partition of India was one of the greatest episodes I've ever seen of Doctor Who, right? So it's exciting to see them go to other parts of the world. I'm really looking forward to next week's episode.
Yeah, they should
be
doing that more often, going to different, more varied locations. Although some of it may be, if you make a location that's too different, you kind of have to film it there, or people are going to know.
Yeah. Although they managed to shoot not in Kashmir when they talked about the partition of India and Pakistan, and they, I think they.
But it's kind of you can't go to Paris. If you're going to do it in Paris or something like that, you kind of have to a lot of times film They are not necessarily. I'm
Yeah.
just
Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't go to Lagos, but
no, I don't think they did. But I just mean that some
yeah.
things it's harder to. Some places are harder to recreate believably than others. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see next week. That's going to be pretty great.
Cool. All righty.
Probably next week I'll be like, that sucked. That was clearly London. All right. What is the next thing that is on our schedule tonight, Jamie?
How about SurrealEstate?
Okay.
The very beginning of the show was very dark, so that's why there's a picture of the house. That was pretty
dark.
much.
You mean dark like hard to see, right?
Dark like hard to take a screen capture of. It was very, very dark. So we got very few episode. I'm sorry?
This was a little weird this episode.
Yeah. Sometimes this show isn't always, ghosts and demons and yeah, I agree. It was a weird storyline.
It was, and it was also weird, Jamie, last week's episode with those 3 grown children who inherited, right, that estate or whatever. This week's storyline was similar in that we see the residents of the house going through a lot for the first at least 50% of the episode before the real estate agency gets involved in the paranormal activity. I feel like in season 1, it was always like they have a problem, they call, and the entirety of the episode is like our gang trying to figure it out. And lately, I feel like these storylines go kind of long. I mean, also the werewolf kid, like that went kind of long before Susan, was it Susan or Luke, whoever was like, something weird is at this house, right? Is it me?
I hadn't really thought about it that way, but now that you said that, you're right. I just haven't really thought of it. Yeah, I don't know. We also though are seeing, I feel like sometimes more of their lives outside of the show too, while that's happening, which we don't usually. Like we've seen, Lomax and Susan redoing her house, and we've had the separate storyline of Luke and I forgot his name again. The guy that's trying to
Tyler. Evil Tyler.
Tyler, yeah. So as much as you're right, they're kind of having the storyline go on that like with the family first. We are in between seeing other parts of their lives. Like in this one, we get Lomax and getting some backstory on her.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mind. I mean, I don't know that we necessarily needed it, but I didn't mind it.
I feel like we have not had enough Lomax this season. So I was like, Lomax has really been in the background. So I was glad to see her get an A storyline or a B storyline.
I just don't know that it had to be like, it could have been her involved in the case more, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it didn't necessarily have to be getting her home life or whatever, but yeah, I agree. We haven't had a whole lot of her and they're trying to make her more of a main character. So it worked.
Yes. And I think, Jamie, we have seen Zoe struggle with her new career. We've seen Augie struggle with coming back to the agency. And now this week we see Lomax struggle with, does she want to stay with the agency or take over her parents? In fact, I thought she might leave because
I haven't wondered, especially with everybody else being gone.
Because we haven't seen that much of her this season, and we have a lot of people now. And I was wondering if she was going to decide to quit, but she decided to stay. So I hope they will give her something to do going forward.
Yes, we need to have more of her. So this story, just story-wise, was a little bizarre because they didn't. I guess it was supposed to be that this plant, I don't know if it turned human or I guess it turned human as opposed to projected a human because she was able to touch him. But because this guy wasn't just like a person who fed the plant, I don't think. He came from the plant. I took it as it was not super, it was just weird.
No, I didn't get it either until the end when it appears he maybe is the shepherd who was eaten by the plant 100 years ago.
That's
and he comes
kind of what
to
I
life
thought.
once a year.
He became part of it after he was murdered by the plant.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. But it all starts with these little purple flowers, at any rate, that start popping up everywhere and are not a good thing. And because they did say it has like, I thought at first they were meaning like that there was blood in the sample, but no, there's human blood in the human DNA within the plant.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know, and I didn't read the whole thing, but the sheep eater plant, I guess there actually is a sheep eater plant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised.
Chilensis.
Really, you Googled it?
Yes, I did. I had Googled it because I was curious.
Well, good for you, because when Augie says, or Tag, whatever his name is, says, "Oh, the sheep gets caught up. The plant has little hooks on it, and the sheep gets caught up on it, and it can't get loose." And I was like, "Wait, that's a little purple flower, and a sheep is really big, and you're telling me that it's going to get snagged on prickers and stuck?"
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
But
Maybe I got
maybe
confused.
it's
I thought
much
he was saying that there
more.
was a plant that was really like this. This was a different
Yeah.
plant that maybe was.
Oh, okay. So this is a
That's how I
relatively
took it. Maybe I'm
very
wrong.
robust sheep killer plant. Okay, I'm with you. I
Yeah,
get
I
it.
think he was kind of saying like, well, there is a plant that can kill sheep, so maybe there's one that can kill me. That was how I
Okay.
took it. It wasn't
All right.
super explained, so.
I'm down with that.
But yeah, so basically, I mean, the whole kind of plot was that this guy, I mean, I guess he really didn't like the girl. It was that he wanted to eat her, and he's like getting this woman to be around the flowers, and like gets her away from her husband. I mean, she was divorcing her husband at this point, but kind of leads her away to get her I don't want to say sort of brainwashed a little bit in order to get her out into the woods where it captures her. So yeah, it was a very strange story.
I looking back on it, I figured as soon as she sniffed the flower, when it's like, "Oh, smell it! It smells so good," or whatever, right? Like she was entranced, because there were times when I felt like this guy just like shows up. He like creeps up on her. He's very stalkery, and that you would not be alarmed at the stalker guy like creeping around you all. She's definitely like enamored of him.
Yeah.
She's attracted to him. She's enthralled or whatever. But
yeah, I thought he was going to feed her to the plant. So it wasn't, I mean, which I guess he kind of did, but he sort of was the plant. So
yeah.
But like I said, I keep saying it was bizarre. It's a hard episode
but you could tell that she was like that. She didn't mind his stalkerish way.
No, she didn't.
And there's a point later in the episode where she's really pretty mean to the husband. Meaner than she'd been at first. Like, okay, they're getting divorced, but he says like, "Do you want the CDs?" And she's like, "No, you take them." And he's like, "Really, you don't care about anything?" She's like, "No, I don't care. Whatever." She like doesn't care about anything, right? Yeah. Because she's enthralled by plant guy.
Yeah, because I also kind of questioned whenever he blamed her for tracking mud into the house. Like, she follows it out, and if she's still in her right senses, which she seemed to be at the time, wouldn't you? I mean, she said it wasn't me. Wouldn't you be like, "What the hell? Somebody was in our house," not just like, "Oh, I didn't do it."
It's a lot of mud.
It's a lot of mud.
Yeah,
and it clearly wasn't from her. She had socks on that were clean. I would have been like, "What the hell? Somebody's been in the house. My socks are clean. Look, I didn't do it."
She was like under the
she wasn't
spell.
very concerned. Let's put it that way. Yeah. That's why I said she was like you said, she was kind of enthralled with him. So until the point where she's trapped. Whoops.
Where it starts eating her.
Yeah. That thing
there he is.
Under, and somehow he pulled her back up.
That reminded me a little bit of Sirius Black in the fireplace in Harry Potter.
It does kind of look like that. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that just shows somewhere there was tendrils, but I guess I couldn't get many pictures from that. It was moving so fast. They were all out of focus.
Yeah.
When he pulled her out, of course, after they're like in love again. But yeah.
Well, he was always in love with her, right?
Story.
Like that, you could see the husband was like.
No, yes, he was. Sorry, yes, he was in love with her all along, but now she was more in love with him again because she knew that he, I guess, cared enough to save her,
fight for her, or whatever. Yeah. And so it is. I mean, the storyline. Augie and Susan end up solving it, right? So Susan is like, "What's going on here?" And she brings in Augie, and Augie does this like, "Oh, you don't need me. You've got this new young guy. And my electric bill is too high. Luke hates me, not hates me, but whatever." And then Augie ends up solving it and working with whose video guy's name is it? Is it Tag? I want to say Tag. That's not his name. Tad or
Tag. I want to say Tag too. Now that you said that,
his name is I forget his name, but
I think it is Tag. That sounds right, but yeah, I don't know. But Oops, I lost the episode. I thought
I forget. His name is I forget his name. But they end up kind of like
Morton Tag Guinness. So yes, his nickname is Tag.
It is Tag.
Yeah.
I always remember him because Tag was the name of Rachel's assistant on Friends. That's the one fucking my name. But anyway, yeah, they end up like figuring all that out. It's not the greatest ghost mystery we've had of the season, right? And I actually forgot that Susan has firepower until the very end when she sets the plant on fire.
Yeah, I love that. Now I'm remembering suddenly, because I was thinking I like that. I was remembering, I know this is completely off topic, but I'm going to forget again if I said it. There's one thing I wanted to mention about Doctor Who I never did. I love the scene wherever that guy was like to Ruby was like, why are you in charge? And she's like, fine, then go outside and get killed and see what happens. I thought that was funny. And I don't know why, but the fire reminded me of that. Because it's kind of like we forget about that. And she's like, yeah, I'll take care of it. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you know that this guy who plays Tag, he had a small role on Orphan Black as Allison's like drug dealer.
Oh, okay.
He sold Allison her drugs and her guns and all that stuff that she.
Okay, yeah.
So he has a few like recurring appearances, like for a few years there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Sorry.
No, I didn't realize that. Now that you said that. So we have a couple things going on in this episode. We have the fact that Augie's the only one that seems to recognize something's up with Tyler. Although we don't actually, do we see Tyler in this episode at all? I can't remember.
I don't think we saw Tyler.
I think they just talk about him. But Luke is, still really trying to sell that house because it's such a big house. So he's kind of bending over backwards for him. And Augie's like, there's something up with that. And Luke
of everyone who works at Roman Ireland right now, Augie has been around the longest and knows Luke the longest, right?
Yeah.
So he's got a gut feeling there.
Yes. And to be fair, he's not really pushing it, but Luke doesn't seem to see it. And, I was surprised because I thought after what Tyler did to him at the bar that he was going to remember that something was going on. And he clearly, I guess, was so drunk he didn't remember it, apparently, because he doesn't seem to be worried about Tyler. So we have that storyline. Then we also have the whole thing with, I was trying to find a picture with Lomax. We sort of mentioned this. I'm looking for a picture. I have a picture of them at dinner somewhere. Nope, that's not it.
Picture with her parents. They want her to take over their mortuary.
There we go. With her parents that want her to take over their mortuary business. And she does help them out in this episode, but they want her to take it over. And she's kind of like, I like my job. I don't want to go back to this. And that's the one side story. And then we also have the whole bit with Rita.
Oh, I love that.
It's hilarious that she's going to the funerals to pick up home sellers, not home buyers, home sellers that have, homes that maybe they wouldn't have sold, but they're selling because somebody dies and they're like expensive homes, which yes, was funny. And I love that they're both like, that was so smart, but it's bad because they both are like, yeah, that was smart, but no, don't do that. So I like that. But yeah, Lomax is, I think, committed now to staying. We know that. I don't think we really got anything with Susan this episode, backstory wise.
No, no, we didn't have anything backstory. We had her encouraging Tim to get out there and date, right? Not Tim. I'm calling him Tim. Luke.
Yeah,
Tim
Luke.
the actor. Encouraging Luke to get out there and date, and so that storyline, the Megan thing, happens in this episode.
Yeah, where he is basically, after this whole thing with that guy fighting for his wife, he decides he's going to fight for Megan, but it's too little too late. But I don't know if they were ever on the same page, because when he's like says, we were in love, you threw that away, you left, she's like really shocked, like, we were? Because apparently he never said he loved her, and she didn't know he loved her, and she went off to college, and he didn't stop her from leaving because he knew how important it was to her. And yeah, he's like, I was in love with you and you left, and now you're off with somebody else. And he's kind of like complaining, and it is kind of a little bit his fault. He never did anything if it was that. Again, though, I've said before, I don't love them together. I don't know what it is. I just don't really.
This whole thing is weird because why they brought it back to be this much of a storyline when it was less last season, really, and right.
And they brought it back just to not put them together, at least for right now.
It makes me wonder if they're going to put them together, because she's had more scenes this season already than she did all of last season. And they're hanging out being friends. And, I thought maybe they were putting it to bed when Luke says, oh, everything we had, the love. And she's like, what? And he says, like, I love you. Or he says, like, the love. And she's like, she says something like, I had no idea. And she never says, I was in love with you also, but you never said, she never says it, right? Like,
she says something like, maybe we did, but she doesn't actually outright say, you're right.
I think maybe
I thought before he liked her more than she liked him. So that doesn't totally surprise me.
I think maybe she wasn't in love with him. She never says, like, I love you too, but it's too late, or I loved you, or of course she never says I love Hunter. Hunter's the new boyfriend, right? She never says sorry, I'm in love with him.
She seems surprised when he thinks that Hunter's that serious, because she's like, I didn't say he was a life partner. It's like, well, you've been dating him for how many months? He's going to assume that you're serious.
Well, but that doesn't make you, months doesn't make you.
It doesn't. Right? I'm just saying it was like she didn't even. Yeah, she clearly wasn't at that point with Hunter, but the fact that she's not at that point with Hunter either makes me think you're right, that they might be going to get them back together. I kind of wonder if they're going to kill Hunter and it's going to be a storyline, and then she's going to turn to Luke and then they'll get back together, or something.
I don't know. I agree with you. I don't love them together, but maybe because they're making it to be this tortured romance that I just don't really see on the screen. Like, I didn't mind them together in season 1 when she was a client, but he really liked her.
It was okay at the beginning. It just
terrified, but his ongoing, lingering thing I get it. It's a love lost, and I think going to dinner once a month with your lost love is maybe not a good idea. Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, let's still be friends thing is not all it's cracked up to be. But for them to be, I feel like they're forcing this down our throats, honestly. Don't you?
Yeah. I just don't think I'm at the point. It doesn't feel realistic anymore. And the fact that Luke, look, if he really wasn't that in love with her, then yeah, I get he's still in love with her. But at the same time, I didn't feel that he was that madly in love with her, that he's still pining over her 2 years later. And it just feels disingenuous and like I'm over it. So
rather than see a painful dinner with Megan in every episode, I'd love to see him date a series of girls that just don't measure up to what he wants. Like, let him date, have a bunch of crazy dates, and be more.
And then
more
if he realizes he was in love with her or something, that's maybe a little more, would work a little better. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I like her. Like, I like the actress and everything. I just, for whatever reason, their relationship was never that interesting to me, and I didn't buy it quite as much. But they did bring it in just to like pull them apart, which was kind of weird.
Look at that in the chat. Like button smashed. Thank you, Muncher.
Yes. I never even told you guys we did our Dead City show yesterday. It just reminded me because Muncher was there. We did a test run before we did it, because since we can't fit on the schedule for this, I've been because it's on Monday nights when Monday Night in America's on, our sister show. So I've been learning OBS because I want to use it also with StreamYard, because I think it would be good to use them both together. So we tried it outside of it. We had a test show, and I labeled the test show, "This is the test, please ignore." We had like 4 people show up live while we were talking.
You're so popular, Jamie.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, we were just talking and trying to fix it beforehand, and like we had people show up. So it was funny because I know Debbie's like, I showed up. I clicked it because it said don't click it. So I was like, okay, maybe I should have named it something else more important. But yeah. So we had a lot of technical problems yesterday.
Yeah. So all right. Well, we probably have thoroughly discussed this, huh?
Yes, I think so too.
All right. Let's move it
All right. On. So let's really quick do a little bit of Dead City, and then you can talk to AJ about Andor, and I will.
Okay, and maybe you could. I don't want you to rehash your whole show last.
No, I don't want to. No, I know we don't.
Or maybe you could occasionally, if you want to chime in and
Yeah,
You know, how
we
the
did talk about
general.
this. Lori and I talked about this last night, and we're going to be doing our show every Monday at. I think we're gonna move it to 9. We had it at 9:30 since we were figuring out the stuff, but because of the other shows that Scarlett and I are doing, it's going to have to be moved. So it's going to be 9 o'clock. But yeah, we talked about the episode. Basically, I think we came to the same conclusion you did. It was kind of boring for a season opener. Was it because they had to kind of rehash everything if you forgot it? I don't know. I know a lot of times season premieres aren't as good. But yeah, I don't know. It was really slow. But so everybody's heard my opinion. What did you why don't you talk about what you thought a little bit?
I mean, there was a bunch of stuff I didn't like about this episode. I just I appreciate that it becomes difficult to have a great zombie scene when you've been having the show on TV since like 2012. The franchise has been around since when? 2012 did Walking Dead come out, right? So I appreciate that they're always trying to do something new with zombies. It's got to be hard, but I feel like there are things with zombies that they do that are kind of dumb. And I felt like most of the zombie action in this episode was dumb. We can talk about those zombie scenes, but it generally like just didn't. And I felt like I'm disappointed that are they setting up the season to be communities fighting each other? The Walking Dead has for 8 years, many years, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Dead City, all of it is just like weirdo communities battling each other now, right? Like there's not even really any zombie menace left anymore. And it's always like the people at Terminus, the people at the Commonwealth, the people in New York. Now there's 3 clans in New York that have to be united. They hate each other, they fight each other, that be united to fight against what are they called in the what are the Civil War looking people?
New Babylon.
New Babylon, right? Like this is just I mean, it's actually what I complained about The Last of Us. Am I just going to see like a battle between different communities? Which I think I'm not on that show. But so I'm a little disappointed that that appears to be what they're setting up, just a battle between these different human communities for what even like
for nothing. But yeah,
for not, well, but not even really like we're going to restore New York. New York is the home of museums and theater and culture, and we're going to restore it. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah. That was disappointing. I feel like. So I try to watch the show and evaluate it out of my own mind, but then I also see some things on the internet, and I feel like a lot of people who've seen more episodes, people like you, Jamie, and other critics have seen some of it, feel like where there's promise is the idea of the next generation with Herschel and any other young people who, again, with The Last of Us, with Station 11, the idea of like trying to restore a community that they have no memory of and do they care about. And like, why are you fighting for something that you didn't even really lose because you never had it, kind of thing, right? Yeah. And the potential in the Maggie Herschel relationship and how Negan is or is not a part of that, and the way that like they might feel differently about Negan, like Negan doesn't even have to be on the screen or be in the show for Negan to always be present in their relationship, and for that to be like could be a meaningful, good storyline if it didn't have to have zombies with deer horns taped onto their heads fighting each other.
That's fair. I mean, look, The Walking Dead is going to have a lot of zombie fights no matter what, or not zombie fights, but zombie and human usually. And here we actually have zombie against zombie, which I have issue with, and I know we talked about like that didn't make tons of sense. But yeah, I agree with you. I think some of the things that are more interesting is like the conversations that, because I think Herschel even says at one point, like sometimes she seems to hate Negan and want vengeance for Glenn, and it's all about that. And then other times she's like, feels bad because she left him there. So, but it's never seemed, at least to Herschel, never seems to be about him. So I understand why he feels like he does, and some of why he is a bratty teen in a lot of it. I kind of get it. But that kind of part of the storyline maybe would be a little more interesting. Look, I even asked, I think that they're too focused on trying to bring the world back. Because I even, and I got to put this up because of my computer being gone, I didn't get the interview up yet. But with the roundtable, I even asked him, like, do you think that maybe things would go better if people weren't so focused on bringing what was back and just surviving? And that, everybody's so focused on that. I think it's a lot of people's downfall, and especially in this show. Like, what's his name? I keep wanting to call him
Croat.
No, he's not the sheriff. Pearlie Armstrong.
Pearlie.
I want to call him his real name instead. He's so like, everything will be better if we have methane. He's like, oh, we have we'll have medicine and all this. But really, a lot of this is just about like, we have electricity and therefore we're better off, because the people don't seem to care when they're threatened. But when they find out, oh, we can have power, like this is a good thing. And I don't know. I think that they're too focused on that in some of it. Like as just in general, that they would do better if they weren't so focused on it. Not for show story wise. I mean, like as people, like that's part of their issue, is that, like you said, they're trying to bring back this world that they can't bring back, and that the generation that's coming after them doesn't even care about.
It's funny, Jamie, you're making me think of a show that I really didn't like, but in Earth Abides, like they have all these millions of kids and grandchildren, and they don't bring back the world. They just have their own little like way of like living with nature, right? I mean, look, I think like the discovery of electricity by and the Industrial Revolution and whatever were great for human society and civilization, and they're not bad things. But I agree with you. They're too focused on that at the expense of other things, including like their ridiculous, like brutal, authoritarian, basically system of government, right? Where they conscription or death and things like that, right? Like the New Babylon government is the worst.
Yes.
And I don't know why they all dress like they're from the Wild West Marshals and Civil War and shit like that. I don't know where they found those clothes. Like, what, like, I'm sorry, if I go to Tennessee, is that everybody dresses, or would they have normal, like, wouldn't you just find normal clothes everywhere in the world? Like, where are they getting all these Civil War clothes?
I don't know, but I was just going to say, speaking of clothes, like Kim Coates' character is always dressed different, though, and nice.
Yeah.
Although they're not part of the group you're talking about, but
I mean, at least he lives in New York City, and I think he could find like a lot of fat. He's very clean, but he, at least in New York City, he could find maybe these things in certain stores and apartments and houses, and it's the home of 8 million people. There's a lot of clothes there, right? I don't understand why all these marshals are wearing tin stars on their chest and long leather dusters and spurs and cowboy hats and stuff like that.
It's a choice. I don't know that it's the right choice, but it's a choice.
Well, how is it? I don't even know how it's a choice. Like, where did they find that stuff? At least in Fear the Walking Dead, Coleman Domingo literally got that from a museum, right? He dressed like the Civil War, but it was actually, he was from like the Alamo or something, and it was from a museum, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But whatever. I mean, look, I shouldn't pick on the costumes, because really what's important about New Babylon is how, Maggie makes some points in this episode about how they didn't have a choice. We joined New Babylon because you cut off all our trading partners and forced us to join you, and we didn't really want to, right? You learn about a little more about how really bad New Babylon is.
Pretty much none of the communities, except for where they get at the end of the original series.
Alexandria?
No, not out. Well, Alexandria was good for a while, but they got destroyed. But no, help me out. The end of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth.
Well, only after Daryl and like his people like take it over and kill the government, right?
And then it's better, but like that's kind of the only place we've seen that really has sustained a good, a good place. Maybe the world beyond for a little bit, I guess, until it went to shit too. Yeah. But I mean, then again, it's like you talk about, Joel being killed in Last of Us. You have to have drama, and if they're just sitting around all happy, it's going to be a boring show. I'm not saying they have to do a lot of things they have to do. I'm just saying that, they're not going to have a happy community, and it's not going to happen.
Things I didn't like in this episode. So I texted you guys. I thought, so we have seen, Jamie, you texted me a while ago and said, like, why are there always like zombie gladiator fights going all the way back to like Rick and the trash, Jadis's trash people in Walking Dead? Like, there have always been people forced to battle zombies in an arena. The governor did it. But first one was the governor, right? But in this episode, it's zombies fighting each other.
I kind of question, and this is the big plot hole, and I know you said the same thing. Why are this, like, how are they making them fight each other? What is the, like, I don't know how, unless they put, the only thing I could come to the conclusion of, and I said this the other night, is like maybe they're like putting pieces of human flesh on them or something to make the other one attack them. I don't know.
I mean, the zombies are wearing like armor made out of deer horns and stuff, and that one zombie has like special fangs attached to his face so he can kill the other zombie. Like, they've gone to a lot of trouble to outfit these zombies. I don't know why, when there's literally a couple hundred people standing around, why the zombies go after each other and not try to get all these people, right?
Yeah, I agree. That's a big problem with it. And I don't know if they've had so many of these cage fight type things, whether it was with souped up zombies or regular zombies or humans against zombies and now zombies against zombies. I don't know if they think people like it that they keep putting it in. I'm just totally over the zombie fighting. Now, the thing where they made Maggie and Ginny.
Oh, that was worse. That was dumber. To me, that was even worse than zombies.
Okay, see, I didn't find that as bad. I mean, the fact that they risked their life to do it was bad, but like, I thought it was a decent scene. I didn't.
Okay, I mean, it's always nice to see Lauren Cohan knife some zombies in the head, sure. I just think, the case is made that Maggie's the only person ever to go to New York and make it out alive. She's been there. She has a lot of important information. She's obviously anybody who's alive is a good fighter right now. She's obviously known as a good fighter. She fought her way in and out of New York. She knows the lay of the land, all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then this ridiculous sheriff lady is like, oh, okay, well, is she worth 20 people? She has to fight. Let's put her in a certain death situation and make her fight 20 zombies by herself. Like, I don't even understand how does that make any sense at all? That this incredible.
I think he originally was going to make her fight soldiers, and then that other one's like, well, you won't be fighting soldiers when we go out. You'll be fighting lockers, so why not prove it? I think they just assumed she'd die and they'd get rid of her. But
why would you want to get rid of her? She's the only person who has the information you need. Why would she be? I mean, I think she'd be almost more like a Eugene situation, someone who can't fight, but you need to keep them alive for their knowledge. Like, why you would be like, I know that she makes the deal and says, like, nobody else has to go. If I go, nobody else has to go unless they want to. And they're pissed they're not going to get to conscript some soldiers, right? But why you would be like, let's kill her when she's absolutely the only person who can help you get onto Manhattan Island? It makes no sense. It makes no tactical sense whatsoever why you would take your source of intelligence and risk her life. Yeah. You should wrap her up in bubble wrap and do whatever you can to protect her. Honestly,
they
right?
Definitely need her. At least they finally have realized they need her, I guess, is the good outcome of that. Or at least they think they do right now. Whether that'll stay, I don't know. But
I mean, for me, it just set it up that these New Babylon people are completely stupid and like kind of cartoony, kind of like a cartoon villain would do that, right? Like any kind of legitimate military leader with any sense whatsoever would not have done that.
Yeah, I think it was a way to get them to fight the zombies. Like,
it was a way to set up Lauren Cohan having to fight these zombies, and for who's the young girl that I want to call her Dina. That's not her name.
No, her name's Ginny.
Ginny. It was a way for Ginny to partner up with her and set the stage for Ginny going with her. Yeah. Right.
Which, the whole reason she did this was to keep the two of them safe. And then Ginny's like, I'm going. So
but Ginny hates Negan, but loves Negan. Like, she's like Maggie, like hates Negan, loves Negan, right? Not loves Negan, but Ginny, he was her father figure. So she loved him. And then he confessed he killed her father. She came to hate him. Maggie hates Negan, but still she doesn't love him. She feels bad about leaving him to his fate, I think, right?
But that says more about her than it does about Negan. Not just because she's a good person. Like, you don't have somebody help you, like rescue you, and then braid them up with a golf club until they die. But we won't go there.
Appreciate having Maggie to be this person to remind us that Negan can never be redeemed.
Right.
And as much as the show tries to, has tried to redeem him, or Rick tried to redeem him, that Maggie was always there to be like, oh, hell no. Right?
Yeah. No, yeah. And that's the main thing I want to say. And then we don't want to belabor this. You guys can move on to Andor. But I told you when I watched this, the main thing that irritated me, well, also the two zombies fighting each other. But aside from that, the one thing that I was worried about here after watching this episode is that clearly the Dhamma is trying to make Negan become the Negan he used to be.
Yeah.
Which they spent all this time trying to tell us that he's a good guy and that he doesn't want that. And even if we've had to kind of suspend disbelief that Maggie would somewhat forgive him, if you wanted to watch this show, you kind of had to get over that because they worked together. If they just turn around and make him bad again, that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying they will. We have to wait and see what happens. But that was my only fear, is I was like, I don't want to see that Negan again. And we do get a version of Lucille back in this episode. That's the other thing. I have a picture here somewhere.
So it turns out it's not the real Lucille, because I think destroyed the real Lucille, right?
Yeah. The Croat fixed him up a version of Lucille, which, so a lot of this right now is supposed to be Negan kind of play acting, and hopefully it stays that way. But he's got Lucille. I do think it's kind of funny that they put the electricity in it. But I'm also surprised that they did that.
It's like a little projectile that shoots out of it, right?
I don't know. It shocked him somehow.
I thought it wasn't a bullet, but it was like a projectile that hurt him.
Maybe. I thought it somehow shocked him. I wasn't sure. But I'm surprised either way that what he did didn't kill him. Like, I really thought that he was going to kill him. So the fact that the weapon they put in there isn't deadly, I don't know. I think it's funny.
What's the point? Yeah. Apparently that guy's a character going forward, I think. So they've just set it up for him to hate Negan even more.
Yeah.
I think there could be interesting tension in the story of Negan, like, not wanting to go back to who he was, and them trying to, and someone trying to push him back down that road, and Negan, like, he's worked hard, he doesn't want to. I thought the setup that, they kidnapped his wife and child was a little bit weak. It's a little bit lazy. I don't understand how these people who live in New York City, and it's totally, like, it is said more than once that New York City is totally cut off. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out. And yet they're like, oh, we have such great intel. We heard that your wife, Annie, and your son, Adam, went on a wagon train to Minnesota. They have all this information that, like, I'm like, I don't know how they got that. That seemed a little too easy. And an easy way to force Negan into there. And I also don't understand why they need Negan. Like, I'm sorry, there's no charismatic people who survive the apocalypse. They have to hunt, like, the entire
if she's evil. And that's the other thing, is why aren't they, like, she's evil, why aren't they scared of her? Why isn't she doing it? Does she just not want to, or is that what it is? She isn't charismatic.
All Negan did was stand up and say, like, fight together or I'll kill you. Like, they really needed to wait. According to the backstory that we heard, I think Negan's been living in that cell for a year while they tried to convince him, right?
Yeah.
And then finally they kidnap his wife. Like, I'm sorry, you don't have any people in your ranks, or you can't kidnap anybody who's living in Manhattan. It just, to me, is a little...
Yeah, I don't know that Negan is the only person that's capable of making people listen.
I mean,
they can threaten people and torture people. Not that I want to see them torture people, but I'm just saying, like, they could without him. I don't know that it's necessary.
Look, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy seeing Jeffrey Dean Morgan chewing up some scenery as Negan. He's great in this role.
Yeah.
That old-timey Negan is fun to watch, even if I don't really want his character to backslide that way, right?
Yeah.
It was fun and it was good, but, like, I'm gonna, Jamie, as you say, don't think about it too much. Just watch it.
Yeah. And I'm giving them the chance. It does seem like he does not want to become that person. So as long as they don't have him actively, like, torturing people or, baseball batting people and enjoying it, then it might be okay. I just worried that was where it was going, a little bit. So we'll see.
So going forward, I know you can't say. I assume that Herschel's going to show up in New York City. I think he has some weird the Dama, right? Like obviously,
yeah, it seems like she brainwashed him or something,
right? Like they have a bond,
definitely
right?
feels like that. Yeah. And Maggie knows something's up, but she doesn't know what it is. I think we have here this picture where she's like, "Why are you drawing this woman?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. She has some kind of hold over him or something.
And I feel like it's always a child who brings out the best in Negan, right? Like Judith, Ginny, Herschel. Children bring out the best in Negan, and so I feel like maybe Herschel and Ginny would be instrumental in Negan. Like if he has any chance of doing the right thing, they will play a part in it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But at any rate, the fight for the methane continues.
It's so kind of silly, and yet I guess it makes a little sense, right?
I was gonna say, to be fair, people will kill each other for a lot less. So
I wonder why other people haven't discovered this methane thing, or why
it's kind of smart. I mean, dead zombies are definitely a commodity in this world. I mean,
like why you have to go and invade New York to discover the secrets of methane? Like surely there are some smart scientists or some good libraries in New Babylon where they could figure out how to convert dead bodies into methane also, right?
Yeah, you would definitely think.
Yeah. But anyway, then we wouldn't have a story, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. All right. Well, you guys talk about Andor.
Okay, Andor.
Everybody else, I guess I will see everybody else Thursday at 8 for
are you gonna sign off, Jamie, or are you gonna stick around?
I might hang around, but obviously I haven't seen it, so I don't really have anything to contribute. But yeah, I will. Otherwise, I will see everybody Thursday at 8 for
The Last of Us.
For the Last of Us discussion, and then at 11 we're going to be doing the last episode finally of Towards Zero.
Okay. So,
all right. I will let you guys talk.
All right. We're going to switch over to our other AJ Andor. This was episodes 4, 5, and 6 of season 2. I hope AJ is awake.
I'm here.
Hi. So I've been talking all this time. You haven't been talking. How did you feel about this chapter? Vis-a-vis last week and just as a chapter. It's a year later.
Yeah, I don't think each chapter is a year later, and I don't. I feel like there's a lot left on the table.
Yeah.
I don't think I like the way they're doing this. Like, if you had this much more story to tell, why just 2 seasons? You know what I mean? Like,
so
I mean, the overall, all I know is the first thing I thought was, if each chapter is going to start with a Bix hallucination or dream, Karen is going to shoot somebody by the time it's over.
I know,
Each
right?
chapter, like the first chapter, literally started with a Bix dream, and this one starts with a Bix hallucination.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know. I feel like there's so many moving pieces. There's so much going on that to put it together in this way that they've done it, I don't know that it works for me. It's not that I don't like certain aspects.
Okay, so I agree with you about the 1 year jump for every chapter is a little with stuff being left on the table that I thought was going to be important is not. For example, I really thought Mon's wedding took up a big chunk of episode 3. Mon's daughter's wedding was a big chunk of episode 3, and it culminates in her childhood best friend who helped her, with her investments. He's escorted away, and he's obviously killed, right?
Right.
But Luthen makes that decision, and I thought that was a big deal, right? And like a year later, there appears to be no ramifications of that whatsoever. Like it's I guess because it's not important the story, it's more symbol. I guess this show is really about the sacrifices you make for a rebellion and the people they have to sacrifice and the things they sacrifice. And I guess that trend, but I thought that was going to be a bigger deal, and it in the end is nothing, right?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand what the point of any of it is when you're doing 3 episodes, as 4 chapters, and it's like, I mean, I'm going to jump right to the end here, but the heist on Gorman.
Yeah, I don't have a good shot of that.
I mean, that ends badly. Which you knew as soon as the gun went off. I had a feeling it was either going to be Vel or Sintra.
Yeah.
Just because the way it was leading, and it was just like, what kind, what, now we're jumping a year ahead. So it's we're not even going to see Vel deal with that,
Yeah.
We're not going to see Luthen deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, it just.
Yeah. I actually, so these 3 actually, I think, worked a little better for me than the previous 3. I do have some problems with it. But I'm starting to feel like, we're not watching a show or a story. I feel like maybe this is a series of vignettes about what it takes to create a rebellion. I mean, I think I've said this many times, I think we were told the wrong thing when I was told this was the story of how Cassian Andor goes from being an apathetic thief to being the guy who sacrifices his own life in Rogue One, and it was a story of his becoming a rebel. That's actually not what the show is, right? The show is how the rebellion was formed and came to be, and what a lot of people did to make the rebellion happen so that Luke Skywalker could fly his X-Wing, right?
I kind of I finally enjoyed Andor, and he wasn't playing Andor.
Oh, you liked when he was playing? I think I have a picture of him, or do I not?
When he got all gussied up and went to Gorman.
Love that when he gets Valerian Sky, I think is his alien.
I don't remember what the name was, but he was just so chipper, and I don't know. It was funny, and it was like I was like, I'm enjoying this, him playing a character, but I don't enjoy him when he's being himself.
He was great, and he was, when he comes back to Bix, he says, "I was so pretty," and I'm like, "Oh yes, he was so pretty. He was so pretty."
The Bix story arc kind of annoyed me at first.
Yeah.
Because think about they leave the planet, and now here we are a year later, and she's doing drugs, and she's got this problem. She's hallucinating about this doctor that killed this young soldier who. We're not even sure what we're being thrown into, and we kind of sort of learn about what her issues are, which I can understand as we get to see what's going on. And Andor is and that's the thing. Andor's not believable yet. Still not. Like,
he's still not the guy, right? He's still not.
Yeah, like he's explaining to her how, this is war and this is how things are and you gotta get used to it. And it's like, I don't think he's used to it. Like, and that's the thing, because we're jumping around like we do, I haven't seen the transition for him. And, I did like by the end of the 3rd episode, Bix is finally, kind of getting it out, being able to kill that doctor. I think Bix is finally back. I didn't at first. I was like, Andor leaves and she's like taking drugs and shit, and I'm like, really? I'm like, because he's not there now, she's got to get high because
I don't know if she wasn't already, but I agree.
I felt like I just felt like it was not doing character justice.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I don't like about Bix is that since season 1, she's, she initially was the contact with Luthen, and she was basically Cassian's fence, right? And she was great, and then she quickly became this damsel in distress who Cassian had to save. He saves her on Phoenix. He saves her on the wheat planet. He saves her I don't like the way they've broken her down, and he rescues her. And look, Star Wars doesn't do great female characters necessarily always, right? And I'm like, what is the point of making this woman just always be like, let's beat her down more and more, and then Cassian might save her, and then we have a lot of storyline in these 3 episodes where Cassian's like, he's really babying her, and she's like, no, I can do more. I can, give me something to do. I can do more. Stop babying me. Stop protecting me. And he's like, really? Because you're like on drugs and having nightmares every night. And like, I get it. Her trauma. I think she'll never get over that trauma of that torture that creepo doctor did to her. Right? Like, I think the attempted rape is far less traumatic than the psychological torture they inflicted on her. And later Luthen comes to her, and Luthen's like, oh, I was gonna give you a mission, but no, you're too like sketched out, you're too weak or whatever. And she's like, stop, I can do it. I was glad they finally so I love that scene, but I have struggled with her character for the same reason, AJ. Like, what are they like I have felt that she was just put in there for Cassian to rescue her, and I was glad to see that maybe in that final scene things are turning around with her. I don't believe that killing that guy will cure her trauma, right? Killing your torturer doesn't necessarily eliminate all the effects of having been tortured, but it certainly could help.
He didn't torture her. He tortured the soldier, and it upset her that he was like just some young kid who didn't need to be tortured.
He was dreaming about that guy who put the headphones on her. That in season 1 he talks about how we like wiped out all the people on this planet, and we recorded they had a special way of communicating, and we recorded it, and their children were dying, and he played the screams of dying children of a certain species. Remember that? It was the screams of the dying children. I just rewatched season 1. When he plays over those headphones in season 1, they had tortured and killed some species that has a particular way of communicating through sound. And it was the screams of their children, but the way they communicate, that sound was like not just listening, but like going into your emotion and like fucking you up big time. And it was an experimental torture that Bix was like one of the first people that got it. And that is why she can never shake it. It is like one of the most horrible tortures they've come up with.
Gotcha.
And that
I did not remember that from season 1. All I got from any of it was what they showed us in season 2.
I mean, they tortured that other guy also, Will's father. They also tortured the same way. But that is why she keeps dreaming of this doctor, because the torture was so horrifying in a way that, I mean, I guess if like somebody played for us screaming babies, right, it would be horrible. And it's even worse because it's Star Warsy. So that's why her trauma is so intense, and why she dreams about that guy, and why when I don't have a picture of Dedra's boss, so I'll just put Dedra here. When he tells Lonnie, like, oh, we're going to expand the torture program, and you're going to help this guy expand the torture program or whatever, why that is so horrifying and terrible that they're going to do that, right? And why Luthen has to bring an end to it, and he chooses. I mean, so can we go fast forward to the end of the? Do you mind? Can we fast forward?
Oh, go ahead.
discussion. So at the very end, where this happened, where Bix gets the guy and she puts those headphones on him and straps it on his head and like takes him off, she's gonna force him to go through what she went through with that horrible torture, right? And then she and Cassian end up blowing up the place and whatever. Like, this is so. How do you think, I want to ask you how you think this all came to be, how they got this information. A lot of people have interpreted it as Cassian helped Bix do this to
Move on.
To help her move on, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I kind of saw it.
I think that, but Luthen has to be behind this, right?
Oh, yeah, Luthen's definitely involved in it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people online missed Luthen. Like, Lonnie gets the information, and Lonnie clearly must come to Luthen. And then Luthen says, hey, Cass and Bix, can you do this thing for me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it, we don't see Luthen, but I think it's one of the few things that Luthen might have done out of kindness or to be nice. Like, Luthen is cold and... Right? Luthen is one cold dude, and he's
Luthen is pragmatic.
Yeah, he is. And in these 3 episodes, we see his conflict with Cassian, right? Like, he's like, oh, don't think like a soldier, think like a leader. Remember that whole argument they have?
Yeah.
But I think there's nobody that Luthen won't hang out to dry and allow to be killed if he thinks it could benefit the rebellion, right? He's like,
absolutely.
At least they'll be martyred. And I think Andor is more like, oh my God, can you like maybe save people's lives if you have a chance? Like, these people are, just because they're willing to give their lives for the rebellion doesn't mean they have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So a bunch of other stuff happened. Are there parts that you liked more out of these or hated more out of these 3 episodes?
I really enjoyed Cyril setting everything up to have the rebels contact him, and that him and Dedra had to act like they aren't together anymore, so that nobody connects the 2 of them. Yeah. I thought that was a lot of fun. I also thought it was funny that as he was leaving Gorman, Andor was coming to Gorman, which I thought was ironic because earlier at some point Dedra's like, we gotta find Andor, find Cassian Andor, and meanwhile he's on the same planet as her, and then these 2 back in the airport.
I thought they might see each other. I thought they did a decent job of building a little tension there.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering where it was going to go, but I love when Cyril gets to Dedra's and she's like, we have an hour. And he's like, wait, what? What do you mean we only have an hour? She's like, we have an hour, and then you have to leave. Like, like nobody can see us together. Nobody can know what's going on. And he's like, an hour, huh? And she's like, turn off the lights.
Yeah.
Like, those 2 are just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I also loved later in the episode when their boss, who I don't have a picture of it, and his name is what have I just done? His name is Dedra's boss, that guy who
I know who you mean.
And Cyril's been working hard to turns out that Cyril is leaking information to the rebels. I mean, I kind of you and I both love the political part the most, right? And I love this complicated story on Gorman where Dedra and Cyril are working together to sort of create a rebellion that will always do the wrong thing, will make the wrong decision, is what she says, right?
Right.
Because they want to take over this planet, and there's been a big campaign of disinformation making these really kind of advanced and a great planet sound like a bunch of like, they obviously want to eventually turn them into terrorists to justify a crackdown to take over the planet, right?
Right.
And so they're spreading all this information, and they want the rebellion to like do something so they can like crack down and whatever. And I love, so backstory there, but I love when the boss says, "Good work, Cyril." And when he leaves, Cyril says to Dedra, "If I say this is the greatest day of my life, will it ruin everything else?"
Yeah.
Which I love, because the only way I buy these two together is ambition. They're both very ambitious.
Yeah.
And right? The difference is that she's ambitious and competent, and Cyril's ambitious and kind of hapless. He's only successful, I think, on Gorman because Dedra's masterminding it all.
Yeah. And you know what I love about it is, I love that Lonnie, of all people, figured out that Dedra is running Gorman.
Oh yeah.
And then, tells Luthen, because of that whole meeting that they have, in when they're like, "Why are we having so much problems here? What's going on?" And they're like, "We can't control. It's too much work. We can't keep up."
Oh my God, I love that. When he's like, "We're arresting too many people. We can't interrogate all of them."
Yeah.
Yeah. I did love how that echoed also later when Luthen says to what's Luthen's when he says to Clea, "We have too much going on. I can't handle it all." And she's like, "Too bad." I thought it was a little bit similar, but when we're arresting too many people, we can't interrogate them all. There's too much information. We need to focus. And then all those other guys. I remember what the point that you mentioned is when those guys are like, "Oh, thank you for saying that." Like Lonnie was the guy. Everybody else is thinking it, and Lonnie's the guy who said it in the meeting, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes right to Luthen. Did you also catch the part where Admiral, what's his name, the boss, I don't even know the guy's name, he says to Dedra, "Listen, Cyril can never know what's really going on here." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he doesn't know." So what do you think about that?
What's really going on then? Apparently, I don't think we know either, because I thought it was pretty obvious what was going on, and Cyril, I thought, knew what was going on. So what's going on that we aren't aware of? Or am I to believe that Cyril has no idea that they are trying to, turn everybody to make it look, so they could take over? Like, how does Cyril doing all this and not know what their goal is? Karen? Did I lose Karen? No.
I'm here.
There you are.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
The reason they want to take over Gorman is because there's an energy source on the planet.
Well, that I know. How does Cyril not know this?
Oh, because I don't think he knows that, but he might know that, but that is the energy source that will power the Death Star, right? That's what Cyril doesn't know, is that they're building the Death Star.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I think the reason they want this limitless power source is for the Death Star.
No, that makes it. That makes sense. Yeah, no, that's possible. He doesn't know about the Death Star. That's possible.
And I think he doesn't know about the Death Star, and that they're going to use it. What they're using it for? That Cyril can never know that, because first of all, Cyril can't be trusted, and second of all, he might not agree with destroying entire planets, right? He's ambitious to a point, maybe, right? I think. Oh, I unplugged. Maybe you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I unplugged my thing, and I'm almost empty. These two continue to be almost my favorite part, my second favorite part, because my favorite part of this episode. Well, there are two other great parts of this episode. Can we talk about Saw Gerrera?
Yeah, let's talk about Saw.
How did you like that whole Saw business that went on here?
I felt like it wasn't enough. Like it just kind of like Saw's always been a wacky character. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It just the way, especially the way it ended when he's like, take off the mask. He's like, just breathe it in, and I'm like, and then Will was like doing it, and I'm like, these people are lunatics.
Yeah, that kind of made no sense. I thought AJ that had explained to me. So for me, Saw was always kind of a weak link in Rogue One because he was so crazy. And I'm like, you know how I hate characters that are breathing out of masks, and like whether it's from Fear the Walking Dead or I think in Blue Velvet, or I'm like, oh, I hated that about him. And I'm like, why is this crazy guy breathing through his mask? Why is he so cuckoo? And I feel like this episode filled in some of the blanks for me that the next time I watch Rogue One, I would understand him better. He talks about how he was in a work camp from the age of like 13, and how he basically was exposed to breathing in jet fuel for like years, and he's now like addicted to jet fuel, kind of, right? It's not clear to me in Rogue One, is he breathing jet fuel or is he breathing oxygen because his lungs are killed from jet fuel? But I kind of, what I thought was a stupid affectation in Rogue One, I now kind of get from having watched this, maybe.
I never thought that hard about it.
Well, Saw Gerrera has been a character that I'm always like, what is with this guy? But yeah, Will, I really thought in that scene that he might rip Will's mask off. And he doesn't. I agree with you that it maybe is not believable or doesn't make sense that Will would rip it off and breathe in jet fuel and be like, I get it that Saw is charismatic and that he runs almost like a cult, but it kind of didn't really, maybe work as much.
Yeah, that whole thing was crazy, and it was just such a small piece that I just feel like, what was the point? Because now we're going to jump a year later, I mean, we spent very little time with them. It was basically Will teaching them how to use the weapon, and then they shot the blonde guy because he was a traitor.
I felt a little bit of the point was people might wonder where Will was, but this is not a show that cares about people who wonder where other people go a year later, but we might wonder where Will was. A better part was our friend Clea and Mon and what happened to them in kind of the last scene, right? The last episode, rather.
Clea was fun. I loved watching her try and remove the bug from the.
Oh yeah.
From the Braille thing.
I loved also seeing her be, while in the shop she works as Luthen's assistant, it actually is not clear to me. They seem to be equals in terms of like running the rebellion, right? And she stands up to him very clearly, and he's like, "What? There's a bug in there?" And she's like, "Hello, you signed off on it." And he's like, "You made me." And he's like, "I didn't make you." And she's like, "I didn't," right? Like,
yeah.
But
yeah, he's like, I told you we didn't need a bug in that. He's like, what kind of information have we ever gotten from him? And she's like, you agreed at the time. And he's like, I agreed because you wouldn't shut up about it,
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I liked Mon, who was sort of like, I liked Mon. I liked her with, there's Luthen in the background, and I'm liking Perrin more lately, as, when I was talking with Roger on Sunday, I feel like Perrin, this marriage I haven't always got between Mon and Perrin. But I've learned to see it as maybe an arranged marriage, a marriage of convenience, and a guy who in season 1 really enjoyed all the trappings of her wealth and her being a senator. And in season 2, he's like, oh my God, I have to go to another party with these horrible people. Like, I kind of get them together.
Yeah, I feel like Perrin enjoys the status quo, where Mon's like, but so many bad things are happening. How can you be okay with,
Yeah.
Like he sees it, like you said, he's like, we have to go to a party with more of these idiots, these bad people and everything.
Yeah.
But he's not going to say anything because he enjoys the
wealth.
Wealth. Yeah.
The power, yeah.
You know what I really liked was, I hadn't even thought about it because the Empire is currently, this is the first time we've ever seen a Senate meeting since the Empire took over.
Yeah.
All our Senate stuff that we've ever seen in Star Wars was always before the Empire.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just kind of interesting to see.
And Mom was like gripping the sides of her podium. She was so angry, right? Yeah. And then, lo and behold, Krennic shows up at the party, which was kind of amazing also. I love that.
Oh, my God. That was great. Her coming face to face with Krennic. First of all, I love Krennic. Krennic is such a great villain.
He is. He's a great villain.
And that whole scene was just wonderful. And everybody having to think on the fly, like when he says to Clea, he's like, I understand this is a favorite piece of yours. And she's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then Lonnie has to be like, oh, it's a book. She's like, remember, this will be quiz. And then lo and behold, Krennic is quizzing them, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. This was a very... So one thing that I felt, AJ, that I missed in these 3 episodes is we didn't get a big action set piece, which we have gotten in pretty much every chapter. There was no... Okay, so we should talk about the shootout on Gorman, because maybe that's an action set piece. Surely it is, right? But it didn't involve flying in space.
The only action part of it was when the guy was like, what's going on here? And the douche nozzle was like, just go home, and pulls his gun. And I'm like, why does this guy have a fucking gun?
Yeah.
When he wasn't supposed to have a gun.
Vel told them, no guns. You can't bring any guns. Vel said to them, you can't bring any guns. By the way, I love this shot where these two are in like a yin-yang kind of window, right?
Yeah.
But Vel said, no weapons, do exactly as you're told. And we knew, as soon as she said it, we knew it's not going to happen, right?
Especially since that guy was being a jerk the whole time.
I did think that was well shot, well written, well directed. The way that whole heist happens was a good scene. It didn't have, right?
And Cyril giving the play-by-play.
Yeah. I mean, Tony Gilroy, who runs the show, is from the Bourne movies, right? So he can do a good scene like that.
Yeah.
And the guy who wrote these episodes is named Will, I gotta look it up, Will Beaumont. Oh God, I should know this. So the guy who wrote this chapter, or directed it, Andor writer Will, I'm looking up his name up. His name is Andor. I gotta look this guy's name up because I want to give him credit. His name is Beau Wilmon is the guy's name. He wrote, AJ, in season 1, my favorite chapter when Andor is in prison and then escapes from prison, which I thought was really, for me, a highlight of season 1. And the guy who wrote now wrote this. I thought it was a good, I thought this whole failed rebellion where Cassian goes and visits and he says, they're not ready. These guys are not ready. They're going to screw up, which is exactly what Dedra wants, right? And Luthen won't listen. And Luthen doesn't care. Luthen's like, whatever. If they'll get killed and they're martyred, at least it'll be a spark. Cassian's not willing to sacrifice.
So he sends Vel and Sintra to help. And, if that guy hadn't brought a gun, it would have gone off without a hitch.
And I think Luthen is willing to sacrifice lives, but he never thought it might be Cinta, right? Like, not that we saw him grieve Cinta. Cinta, of anyone, is a soldier who's willing to give her life.
And that's the problem. We're not going to see him grieve her. We're not going to see anything. Obviously, we know Vel's going to grieve her, but we're not going to see anybody else because guess what? It's a year later next time we see any of these people.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole year. And next year... And next week's arc will be, are we 5, 4, 3 years BBY?
2.
Next week is 2. This week was 2, so next week is 1 BBY, right?
Well, no, I would have to see. I don't.
No, this is 3. This week was 3, I think.
This was 3. Yes, I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I meant. Next week's going to be 2, and then it'll be 1, and then.
And so we're getting very close. Which I want to ask you a question, AJ. You know Star Wars better than I do. So I was talking on Roger's recap show on Sunday. I guess sat in with those guys, and he has some people. Roger knows Star Wars better than I do. Michael does. He's got a guest host, Tyler Herb, who's a real Star Wars guy. So I don't see Mon. We're now 3 years out. I don't see Mon yet becoming that person who's going to be the leader of the Rebel Alliance pretty soon. And Tyler said, if you watch Star Wars Legends, is that the name of the show? Rebels? If you watch Rebels, the timeline overlaps, precedes this and overlaps, and Mon Mothma is already having operations and people that she's in charge of. And so for him, he felt like this Mon is maybe timeline-wise not exactly where she is in other shows. Do you feel that way?
I hadn't really thought about the timeline, but I think part of it is, I think Luthen dies.
Oh, really?
Luthen has to die.
Well, yeah, pretty much everyone has to die because they're not in the movies going forward.
Yeah, no. Some of them can just be off wherever and not directly involved. But Luthen, I feel, has to die because I think Luthen dying is what is going to catapult Mon to be like,
ooh,
oh shit, I've got to take charge.
I like it.
I think that's because right now she doesn't have to be what we know her to be because Luthen is,
Yeah.
So I think that's what I think he's gonna die and she's gonna step up. I think that's when we'll see the change in her. Speaking of her, I love the way we don't get a lot of her in the first 2 episodes, but I love that montage of her going around asking people, why are all these peaceful nations all of a sudden suddenly up in crime rates? And they're like, and what about Gorman? What is going on in Gorman?
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like,
And Gorman was always like peaceful, prosperous, wealthy, sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, what are those crime rates? Because the crime rates are fake, right? Because the crime rates are
right. Yeah, it's all confabulated. So let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
This irritates me to no end, especially if it's the only time we see him in all this. What'd you think of Benjamin Bratt taking the place of Jimmy Smits playing Bail Organa?
Oh, I don't have a picture of that, so let's just go to this one. It didn't bother me. I was like, oh, Bail Organa makes a little pass through here. Oh, it's Benjamin Bratt. I learned later that apparently Jimmy Smits had a
previous engagement
scheduling conflict and he couldn't do it. But
here's my question.
Yeah.
If we don't see Bail Organa in the next 6 episodes again, okay, what is the point of even having him there for that?
Well, exactly. If you can't get Jimmy Smits, why even do it? Like, do you have to do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. What does Bail bring to the table?
Yeah. I mean, I think look, getting Benjamin Bratt to sit in for Jimmy Smits is kind of interesting and hilarious, and I like Benjamin Bratt. It's fine, and I recognized him. I don't really care that they substituted him. I know there are people in the Star Wars fandom who are probably outraged that they substituted someone. I'd rather see Benjamin Bratt.
I'm not happy about it. I mean, they recast Jane Erso, and I don't even understand how that's gonna work if everything is a year later. Like, I don't understand.
Here's the thing: would you rather Benjamin Bratt, or would you rather some weirdo AI kind of fucked up thing on our screen? I'd rather they pay Benjamin Bratt than don't pay anyone to do AI. I'd rather not see him at all. Maybe, right? You're saying don't do it at all.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. What does Bail Organa bring to the table that is so important for him to be in it? If it was just that one scene right there, cut it.
You're right, AJ. There's
nothing. But we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 episodes. Right? I mean, he might play a bigger role in the next 6 episodes, and then maybe it'll warrant having to have Bail there. But we'll see.
But I agree with you. If he's never seen again, what was the point? If it's fan service, it's not adequate fan service, right?
It's not even fan service because it's not Jimmy Smits.
Yeah. It didn't bother me that much, but I'm not a hardcore Star Wars person.
I gotta say though, as recastings go, getting Benjamin Bratt to play, to take over for Jimmy Smits is a pretty smart move.
If I was going to be mean, I'd call him poor man's Jimmy Smits, right? But it was a fun thing, but I appreciate that. Yeah, if it has no point, then why do it? Why have a cameo of a cameo, right? Like, why do that?
Yeah. So.
It was so obvious, yeah.
All right.
So we have 2 more chapters to go. How are you liking this 3-hour chapter?
I hate it.
Did you feel like I felt like these 3 felt more like 3 episodes and less like a chopped out movie? Like I felt,
I'm not even looking at it like that, but I just hate having to watch 3 episodes of Andor in a week.
I know, because it's 3 hours, right? It's a lot.
I mean, I'll say this: the first 3 chapters probably could have been done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot that happened in these 3, and I think that's part of the problem. That's a lot going on.
And
like why they wanted to drop these 3-hour chapters for 4 weeks. That's a lot for people to digest.
It is. It's like watching more than a movie every week. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's people that I've got a friend at work that he's only on episode 2. You know what I mean? Like,
you can, yeah.
I don't understand what the point, because a lot of people aren't going to watch them in these 3-hour chunks.
They're going to stream.
So why not just release them?
Yeah.
Weekly. Like, does Disney have something? Yeah. I mean, is it holding up something? Does Disney want to get this rushed out so it can put something else on?
Yeah, who knows?
Didn't have enough room or something? I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll be back with it next week, though.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. All right. I think that wraps up our show for tonight, right?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Good bad start. Good
overlay. Now you can see my.
There you go, Jamie. There's your thing.
My Lightroom. There, I'll get rid of it.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, yeah. I was also taking care of my dog, so sort of half of thing, but it doesn't sound like I necessarily want to catch up anyway. So.
Well, yeah, not your jam. This show is not your jam, so
it is definitely not.
Yeah.
But
all right.
If you did hang around, thank you, and we'll be back, like I said, Thursday at 8 for our last of Hey DJ. But yeah, we'll be back Thursday night for the Last of Us discussion, and at 11 for Towards Zero. And we also have be having a watch party for Towards Zero on Thursday night, and I'll put the link here in the chat for our Discord. If you're not a member, please make sure you join so you can see our schedule and everything else, and check out all our live streams and interviews on our YouTube on SciFi Vision. And make sure that if you're not subscribed, you do, because especially if you're watching this on NDB Media, as I said last time, which is great. We welcome all the people from everywhere, but you might not get all the updates for all of our shows, because you can only get 3 notifications a day. So especially if I'm posting interviews, you're not going to see all the notifications if you're not subscribed to SciFi Vision. So subscribe to SciFi Vision and NDB Media. So there's that. But we will see you guys Thursday, I guess.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Good night,
you guys. Ladies.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.